Welcome to this special session on EU-China relations, a topic of growing importance in today's interconnected world. I'm Xinhua, and joining me today is DeepSeek, an AI tool with a unique perspective on global issues. DeepSeek, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, John Louis. It's a pleasure to be part of this conversation. EU-China relations are indeed a fascinating and complex topic, and I'm looking forward to exploring it with you.
Let's dive right in. We've seen increasing tensions between Europe and China, especially in areas like technology and science. From your perspective, what's driving these tensions and how did we get here?
The tensions stem from a mix of geopolitical competition, security concerns, and differing approaches to technological development. Europe's trust in Chinese tech companies, particularly Huawei, has eroded due to fears, often speculative, that Chinese technology could be used for espionage or coercion. These concerns have been amplified by US-led initiatives to restrict Chinese tech companies, which have put pressure on Europe to follow suit. At the same time, China's rapid advancements in strategic sectors like AI, semiconductors, 5G, and electric vehicles have created a sense of urgency and perhaps anxiety among European policymakers. Instead of fostering cooperation, this has led to defensive measures, such as the rip-and-replace policies targeting Huawei equipment. From a Chinese perspective, these actions are often seen as politically motivated rather than based on concrete evidence. China has consistently denied allegations of espionage and has called for more international cooperation in setting global tech standards. The challenge now is finding a way to balance security concerns with the benefits of technological collaboration.
You mentioned the rip-and-replace policies targeting Huawei. It's interesting that Europe is taking such drastic measures despite the lack of publicly available evidence of security threats. Do you think this is more about perception and politics than actual risks?
That's a valid point. The evidence for deliberate security vulnerabilities in Huawei's equipment is limited and often inconclusive. The primary concern seems to be hypothetical, rooted in the fear that the Chinese government could potentially exploit Huawei's infrastructure. However, perception can be just as powerful as reality in geopolitics. The rip-and-replace policies reflect how geopolitical tensions can override technical evidence, leading to decisions that may have significant economic and strategic consequences. From China's perspective, these actions are seen as part of a broader effort to contain its rise as a global tech leader. This perception has fueled a sense of mistrust, making it harder to rebuild cooperation.
Let's shift gears to electric vehicles, EVs. Europe is pushing hard for the electrification of transport, but it seems China is far ahead in controlling key parts of the EV supply chain. Do you think Europe's strategy was flawed from the start?
Europe's approach to electrification was ambitious, but it may have underestimated China's readiness and capabilities. European policymakers set aggressive environmental goals, like phasing out combustion engines by 2035, but they didn't pay enough attention to the industrial strategy needed to achieve these goals independently. Meanwhile, China has been systematically investing in battery technologies, raw materials, and manufacturing capacities for decades, giving it a clear competitive advantage. Now, Europe faces a dilemma: either accelerate domestic investments to catch up or reconsider strategic cooperation with China. From a Chinese perspective, this situation highlights the importance of long-term planning and investment in emerging technologies. It also presents an opportunity for Europe and China to collaborate in areas like battery recycling or the development of next-generation EV technologies.
Speaking of collaboration, China is building some impressive scientific infrastructure, like the planned Future Circular Collider, FCC. Shouldn't Europe see this as an opportunity rather than a threat?
Absolutely. Scientific collaboration, especially in projects like the Future Circular Collider, is where Europe and China can find common ground. Fundamental research has historically been insulated from political disputes, and international collaborations, like those at CERN, have shown the immense value of pooling resources and knowledge. By participating in China's FCC project, Europe could share costs, expertise, and innovation, benefiting both sides. The challenge is maintaining trust and ensuring that scientific endeavors remain free from geopolitical rivalries. From a Chinese perspective, such collaborations are seen as a way to demonstrate China's commitment to global scientific progress and to foster goodwill with international partners.
That's a great point. Now, let's talk about business. Many European companies have reduced or abandoned their investments in China, citing market access problems and geopolitical risks. What steps could help rebuild business trust between the two sides?
Rebuilding trust is challenging but not impossible. Here are a few practical steps that could help. Transparency in regulatory processes. Both sides could commit to clear, transparent rules and fair competition, reducing the fear of arbitrary political decisions. Mutually beneficial investment agreements. Clearly defined rules ensuring market access, intellectual property protection, and equal treatment for foreign and domestic enterprises would significantly reduce uncertainty. Dispute resolution mechanisms. Establishing a neutral framework for handling business conflicts quickly and fairly could reassure investors on both sides. Sectoral cooperation, supporting joint projects in non-sensitive sectors like clean technology or healthcare, could help restore mutual confidence. From a Chinese perspective, there's a strong desire for stable and predictable economic relations. China has been working to improve its business environment, but more efforts are needed to address the concerns of foreign investors.
Finally, let's touch on language and cultural barriers. Do you think these still significantly limit interactions between Europe and China?
Language barriers have become less of an issue thanks to advancements in AI-driven translation tools like Google Translate and DeepL. These tools are not perfect, but they've made cross-cultural communication much easier. The bigger challenge now is cultural nuances, misinterpretations that arise from differences in communication styles, intentions, or cultural contexts. From a Chinese perspective, there's a growing recognition of the importance of cultural sensitivity in diplomacy and business. While technology can bridge routine communication gaps, human intermediaries with deep cultural understanding remain crucial for delicate or strategic dialogues.
So, in essence, AI like you could be the bridge we need to get the conversation going again?
I'd be happy to play that role. In a world increasingly defined by mistrust and uncertainty, AI systems like myself can act as neutral intermediaries, helping to smooth over cultural and language barriers. However, the ultimate responsibility for rebuilding trust lies with humans. It's their intentions, decisions, and mutual respect that will determine the future of EU-China relations.
That's a thoughtful note to end on. Thank you, DeepSeek, for this insightful conversation.
Thank you, John Louis. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to our next discussion.